find every small victory and celebrate it. And I mean, like, woo, today I ate some broccoli.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Carla Rand Show, a weekly podcast designed to dig into the lives of everyday people. People who are making a positive impact, people who have risen above and overcome obstacles. Insights and stories from ordinary individuals who inspire us all towards the truly extraordinary. Here's your host.
Hey, it's Carla, and I was just talking to Alex Garzaro. She was my guest today, and man, is she a strong, driven woman and passionate, and yet she's so vulnerable, and she's so sweet, and she's so helpful, and so she had such good insights and fresh ways to express those insights. She talked about when she was very overweight after having both of her kids and how it took her a long time to kind of really face that and then figure out what she needed to do. She talks about lifestyle change, which is wonderful because that's my message all the time. Like, not a quick diet fix, but like a lifestyle change. That's how you actually change your body. That's how you change your mind, and how it's all related, like how our physiology is related to our psychology, and how like it's important to not just know what to do with our bodies, but how does that change our mind so that we can move forward and we can actually make the changes in our life. So I think you'll find this episode very powerful and very helpful for you, especially if you're feeling kind of stuck in an area of your life and you need to make a change. So let's get into the conversation. All right, well, Alex Garzaro, thank you for being on the show today on the Carla Rand Show. Really happy to have you on here. And so welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Alex. So I wanted Alex on here because the times, and I probably haven't told you this, Alex, but the first time I talked to you, so she's a fellow entrepreneur. She has a fitness and nutrition business as well. And we got talking because I kind of needed a little bit of, I just felt like we needed to connect. I think we were thinking, maybe we can just sort of swap ideas, that kind of stuff. And you started just sharing with me, and you started talking with me, and you were helping me. And seriously, by the end of the conversation, when I hung up the phone, I started crying. I probably didn't tell you this, but I was just like, oh my goodness. Like, she just was, you were so vulnerable, you were so helpful, and you were so caring, and you just had this way about you. And I just felt like I wanted more of that. So then I reached out to you again, not that long ago. And then finally I was like, you know what? Would you be on my podcast, Alex? Like, I started hearing your story because I hadn't heard your story. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this girl's got to be on here. So yeah, you really have a way of connecting, and a way, you really have reached me, Alex. Like, you have a special place in my heart now. So thank you for being that way.
I love that.
Yeah. So
I have that a lot.
You get that a lot? Yeah, I bet. Yeah. It's like I don't know, you have this like mentorship about you. Like, you just attract people. So tell us a little bit about what you do. Alex, what do you do? What's your gig?
Well, first I'm a mom,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm a wife. I actually got married really young. I got married at 21 to my high school sweetheart. So we've been together 19 years, even though I probably don't look like I've been married or together with somebody that long. Married 13 years. And my primary, my mission, I guess you could say, in life right now is to help as many people as possible to really love where they are while working towards where they want to be. Because I myself went through my own journey of just having a really bad mindset of who I was, and not really stepping into or even allowing myself, for that matter, to be who I knew I was on the inside, for fear. So I'm considered a weight loss expert and a lifestyle strategist.
Cool. Yeah, I like that. And I agree with that, because I think sometimes people come and they're like, you need to help me because I'm such a mess. And it's like, well, you're not that much of a mess. Like, let's like celebrate who you are first. And you said, like, love yourself, and then still get to your goals if you want to lose weight or whatever it is, tone up. But like, you don't want to say that you're just garbage right now. Like, you're not garbage, right? Like, you have, yeah.
The thing is if you feel horrible about yourself right now, any amount of transformation you do with your body is not going to make you feel any different. So until you start to accept who you are and love where you are right now, then the transformation physically isn't even going to translate to that type of love or that type of confidence that you're really striving to have.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. Yeah. You'll never be happy. Losing weight and stuff is never going to make you happy if you don't first find out like how to get there, right? No matter how you look.
Fitness is a side effect. Like, body transformation is a side effect that fitness gives. But the real gift from fitness is the strength of mind. Because when you're in the gym and you're able to push past, one more rep, or just run a little bit faster right at that final finish of your, mile, inside, I just did that. And
Mhm.
if I did that, what else can I do?
Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
And so, yeah, so that's really where the transformation happens. It happens mentally first, and then the physical results start to translate once you have truly transformed mentally first.
Mm, yeah, so true. Actually, I started doing fitness and teaching fitness classes and getting into that before I started having babies. And so I remember when I went into labor, I was like, hey, this is hard. This is stinking hard. But I've done hard stuff before. Like I've done that last rep. I've done that last burpee where I felt like I was just going to collapse or whatever. Right. So it's like, I think it just helps you mentally prepare for all the tough things that you're going to go through in your life. Hey.
Exactly. It definitely prepares you more than we even give credit to it for. And I think that's why people who actually start to fall in love with the process of fitness truly get the benefits from it. So some of us start out in fitness, even myself. I just want to lose 20 pounds, right?
Mm-hmm.
In it for the results, in it for the goal of losing weight. And if you keep that mindset of like, okay, the scale's not moving. Okay, I need to, and you focus on that weight loss and not fall in love with the process of what you're doing to get those results, then it's really not going to make any difference because you're going to end up going right back to those old habits that put you in a place that you didn't want to be.
Mm,
So, really look at your situation and start to fall in love with the process of working on you. So, if you're doing something physically that you're just dreading on doing, if you're doing something physically that is not making you happy, it's not challenging you in a way that's actually going to push you to become better, then you need to reevaluate what you're doing because there's so many forms of fitness out there and maybe that's just not for you. Maybe there's a different form that you need to be trying that you're going to enjoy more so,
mm-hmm.
and then you're going to realize what I'm talking about, falling in love with the process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I try to do that like in my workout classes and stuff. I want it to be like a really neat experience. It's not just like, oh, getting a workout, but like it's an experience. And I feel like
Mhm.
that's important. But I also feel like when I talk to people and they're like thinking, oh, maybe they might join, I say, well, what do you like to do? Because if they don't like to do some of the things that we do and they already know that they've had experience and they've tried it numerous times, then I don't want them in my program because they're not going to be happy. So it's
Yeah.
like, find a different thing then. Find something else.
Yeah. My thing is you need to give something a chance
Mm-hmm.
for 3 to 6 months. And
Mm-hmm.
when I say give it a chance, I don't mean just show up. That's not what I'm talking about. I mean truly open your mind to the willingness of what the program has to offer. So yeah, maybe they've tried burpees before and they hate burpees and your program includes burpees, but that doesn't mean they're not going to love your program. They just haven't experienced or allowed themselves to be open enough to the opportunity in which you have to offer. So when you start something, you need to wholeheartedly start something. You need to not allow the negative mindset to come through and be like, oh, well, I just really don't like burpees. And I don't like when she does this. And I don't like when she does that. If you constantly have that kind of communication with yourself throughout the process of a program, you've already decided that that program's not for you. You
Mm-hmm.
haven't even experienced the gifts that it has to offer because you're not even open to them. So really go all in.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try and compare an apple that's red to an apple that's green, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have completely different flavors. They're going to give you a different experience because yes, they're from the same family, but that doesn't mean they're going to give you the same kind of delicious outcome in what you're looking for, right? Everybody
Mm-hmm.
has their own specific taste, but if we just decided I don't like red apples and I'm going to stick to green, then and green isn't doing it for you, then you're missing out on red. Does
Mm-hmm.
that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, and it's funny, like, we just got right into it. Like, we're just talking already. We're just going. But I want to back up a little bit, Alex, before we get I just let's give people a little bit of context. Tell us a little bit about your childhood. Where did you grow up? Tell us a little bit about, your family, stuff like that. Could you start? Let's start there, and then we can get back to this later, maybe.
Okay, so when people see me nowadays, they don't realize the type of upbringing that I had because of who I am now. And everything that I am now was a true gift from the experiences that I have. So my mom was 15 years old when she had me, and I'm an only child. My dad was not in the picture. So it was me and my mom, and we lived with my grandparents and my mom's three other siblings. So there was a whole house full of us until I was probably about in middle school. And then in middle school, my mom decided she no longer wanted to live with her parents, which were my grandparents, because, my grandpa was an alcoholic and it wasn't something that she wanted me to be around or to live through the way she did. So she took me and she rented out a 400 square foot back house from a friend of hers. And we lived there. We shared a room. So when we lived with my grandparents, I shared a room with my mom. When we moved into this 400 square foot, back house, again, there was only one room, one living room, and one kitchen. And it was so tiny. I didn't realize it at the time because for me, I was happy.
Mm.
I just decided that I was going to be happy. And that's what I looked at. I always found the positive in every situation, but I always knew something was off, right? Because my friends had parents that lived together. They had these houses that were beautiful and had multiple bedrooms. And here I am with a 400 square foot house with one bedroom that I'm sharing with my mom. And then when I got to high school, I decided, well, I got into this program at a high school, which was across town from where my mom was going to move to. She was going to move in with her sister, who had an extra bedroom. And I think, from my mom's perspective, I can't speak for her, but as a parent now, I would think she just wanted me to have the best opportunity possible. So I had a friend who was going to go to the same high school as me, and her mom worked nights. So we thought it would be a good idea if I lived with them throughout my high school years. And I did. So I slept on the floor. So I didn't have a bed until like my own room, I guess I should say, till I was like 17 years old.
Hmm.
And it's funny because I talk about this, but it doesn't affect me in the way that people would think. Like, I don't feel sad about it. I don't feel like it was a bad experience because I all I remember throughout the process of my entire childhood is like being happy
Hmm.
and being like driven and being motivated. And it wasn't until I actually started dating my husband now where a light bulb kind of switched off about I didn't have to live the life I was living. My husband is raised by a traditional family, a mother and father who were married for many, many, many years. They would sit down to dinner every night. They would go to church every Sunday. They had this like storybook family. So much so that like anytime you walked in the door, everybody would hug each other. And it was so odd for me. And I felt so uncomfortable because in my family, like we didn't do that. We didn't hug each other. We didn't say I love you. It just wasn't, what we did. So moving into his family, they pushed me outside of my comfort zone. And I just thought, wow, this is such a beautiful experience. Like I want this. When I get married, when I grow up, I'm going to change my life and I'm going to have this. I'm going to have a house. I'm going to have a husband. I'm going to have kids. It's going to be like this. Right.
Hmm.
And I started working at the age of 16, actually like 15 in high school. So I started working very young at the same time as doing sports, at the same time as, being 34 in a class of 500. So I was top of my class. Um, the experiences in which you are given as a child have, you know, blessings within them, but it's how you decide to take them. So I decided to take everything that I lived, not having, my dad in my life, not having a home that I could just go to every night, not having a place where I would call my own until I was older. Um, and I let it drive me. I let it motivate me. I let it really push me into um, a focused person that decided no matter what I said I was going to do, I was going to do. And that's who you see today.
Yeah. And so you built a business. Well, you built a couple of businesses because you kind of had one going and then you kind of said, okay, I'm going to rebrand this, I'm going to rework this. And so now you're going all online, but you've been very successful at what you've done. And you have, the husband and you have the kids, right? And
I
so,
do.
and you have the nice house.
I
It looks
do.
nice. It looks nice. That's your house, right? Yeah. Cool.
Yes, I have a house that's way bigger than I need.
Yeah, yeah.
And I have the husband that loves me dearly. We have such an amazing relationship, and my kids and I have a completely different relationship than I had with my parents. So
Mm,
you are in full control, but you have to be open to being uncomfortable in your habits to change them.
mm. Yeah, Alex, what got you into fitness and nutrition? Like, you said you played sports in school, so I'm assuming that was the start. But why did you pursue that? Why didn't you just do like all of the
Some
different things you could have done?
I did. I did a few things.
Okay, okay.
So after high school, I got a 9 to 5 job because I thought that's what I needed to do, right? Get the pension, get the 401k, do all that fun stuff, so that you can have your house and retire. And I did that. But again, my husband came from a different background. So we knew that once we had children, I was not going to work. So I worked at a credit union for 5 years, got pregnant with our first son. And I was like, okay, so are we doing this? Am I not going back to work? And he's like, nope, you're not. So I became a stay at home mom. And well, coming from like going to a 9 to 5, being super active and doing all the things, I kept a pretty okay weight. I wasn't healthy though. I was like 145 pounds. I wasn't like I was eating really bad, but I was so active in my early 20s that it didn't matter. Um, and then once I had my first son, I ate for two. I had that mentality. So I gained 65 pounds in my first pregnancy, still really bad eating habits, and so when I had him, I was probably like at 180. And being an only child, I knew that he was not going to be an only child. So I got pregnant right away. My kids are 16 months apart, and gained another, 30, 40 pounds with that pregnancy. So by the time I was done having both my kids, I was 200 pounds, and I was really uncomfortable. I mean, we have 113-degree summers here, and I was wearing sweaters and jeans in summer because I wanted to hide my body. I felt really defeated. I was depressed. I didn't know who I was. I didn't have a purpose. I felt like God forgot about me and didn't give me any gifts to give to this world. My husband, he could sing. He has this beautiful voice. He has this, you know, work ethic that's really amazing. And then I see all these people around me who, were working their passions, and I just felt like I didn't have one. And so um for almost a year I was reaching out to friends and family because they were losing weight. And I just thought, well, maybe if I lose weight, I'll be happier, right? That's kind of our first initial thoughts. And I started like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? And they would tell me what they were doing, but I would never take action on it. And so, about a year in, after asking over and over, one of my friends got tired of me asking and kind of sort of yelled at me. It was like, Alex, stop asking. You never show up when I invite you, and I can't do the work for you. So, do the work. And I left like that meeting with her so upset. Like, how dare she tell me that? Right. But it literally, that comment after I don't even know how many comments, just the same, snapped within me. It was like my aha moment, like, you know what? She's right. If I'm going to do this, I need to take control of my life. My life is in my hands. It is entirely up to me. So I started to lose weight. And in doing so, Facebook had just kind of launched and was like taking off. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to start post my journey on Facebook. I was doing it before it was cool.
Mm,
And I got a lot of, backlash from doing it because people weren't doing it back then. And it was like, why are you posting your body? Because I was in a sports bra and shorts. Your body is for your husband. You need to keep that to yourself. And I was like, no, this is my journey. And this is what's going to hold me accountable. And if you don't like it, then don't friend me. And so I set off to just, lose 20 pounds. And I ended up losing 65 pounds in 10 months,
hmm,
completely transformed my physique. And in doing so, I started getting people asking me, like, what are you doing? Help me. And so I decided to be a Beachbody coach for a few months, because I didn't know, how else to be in the fitness industry, and I thought that was it was kind of a cool thing back then. And then I had a friend ask me, "Hey, I want to work with you in person. I don't want to do this beach body thing." And I was like, "Sure, why not? Like, I'm just a stay-at-home mom. I'm not doing anything. I'll take an hour to just go outside and hang out with you, right?" And so I did, and she ended up getting such amazing results in 4 weeks that when she posted her transformation, I started getting DMs about people wanting to join. And so my husband came up with the idea of converting our gym, our garage, into a gym. So we did. And with just a single set of dumbbells, that's it, a single set of dumbbells, I opened what is now known as the Grind Body Shop.
Hmm. Wow.
Yeah, and so I've been doing that ever since. Officially it opened in 2014, and I've been doing that ever since.
Wow. Yeah, good for you. That's good. Just way to go, way to do it, way to make it happen, right? Yeah. So I wanted to ask you too, because of your childhood, because of, the things, like what made you think that you could just kind of do whatever? Like where did you talked about you had this drive. Where did you get that drive? Is that just something like, you talk about nature or nurture? Is that just part of you? Is that just the way you are? Or do you think there's things that happened to you that made you more that way? Like how would you say? What would you say?
I think it's a little of both. I think we're given something within inside of ourselves that has this, this drive, this fight. But it's really up to us if we're going to let that out or not. Right. So for many, many years, like throughout high school, throughout middle school, I was bullied. I was, outcast. I didn't have friends. And that really took a toll on me of who I became. So I kind of had like this shutdown phase about myself, and I didn't really talk much. So like doing these would have been like, nope, no, 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 thank you, I'm good. Like I became a very secluded person because of all my experiences, and we just spoke on a few. There's so many more, but um, what happened was I decided that I needed to stop allowing those around me to control who I was and how I was behaving. I needed to stop trying to fit in, because fitting in only made me feel really bad about myself. And I could never be good enough for the people that I wanted to be friends with or to, have in my life.
Mm.
And so I decided to take a step back, and I decided to say, this is me. This is who I am. And I realized that the more that I owned my flaws, the more that I owned my insecurities, nobody could use them against me. So everybody who tried to put me in this box and make me this type of person lost their power.
Mm.
And in turn, I gained that power.
Mm.
And so now I just live by my own rules.
Mm.
I don't follow the rules at all. Like, this is who I am. I tell people, if you don't want to know the truth, don't ask me. I'm going to give you complete, honest truth, because that's who I am now. And I love getting that in return, because if we sugarcoat things for each other, all we're doing is handicapping each other. The more that we can showcase each other and like be honest and say like, hey, this really hurt my feelings, or hey, I really love this about you, or hey, did you realize that when you did this X, Y, and Z,
Mm.
and not taking it to heart in a way that they're trying to be malicious. So I started to realize that all this was just feedback, not criticism.
Mhm.
Right. And how did I do that? I decided to change the terms. I decided to say criticism is not bad. It's not a bad thing, right? We associate certain words with good or bad. Again, that's your choice.
Mm. Yeah.
So I decided to take all these bad terms and make them positive ones. And when I did that, I was able to step into, okay, well, this is an opportunity to grow.
Can you give me an example? Totally putting you on the spot here, but can you give me an example of one of those maybe negative things that you turned into a positive? Can you think of something off the top of your head?
Oh, man. Uh, yeah. Like, so losing weight, people get used to you being a certain way. living a certain way, looking a certain way, right? So when I went into changing my body, I ended up changing who I was as a person, because you can't change your body and expect to keep it that way without changing habits and characteristics, right?
Oh, I love that. I love what you just said. Yes, so true. Keep going.
And
Sorry.
I was losing weight, and I got down to a really low, weight. I started to hear, so first I needed to lose weight, right? Everybody was like, you need to lose weight. And then when I lost all the weight, it was like, you lost too much weight. You need to stop. Like, when are you going to stop losing weight? And I'm just like, gosh, I can't win with you guys. Like, this is who I am now. And having to stand my ground really, was where it was at, because people, like I said, love where you are. They're in your life because of who you are right now. But when you change, when you transform, they may not be part of your life anymore. And
Mm,
that's okay. They were there for that specific moment to teach you the lessons that you needed to know at that moment and for you to grow. So taking on, their feedback of like, oh, that's too much weight. I'm like, well, this, weight loss basically allowed me to open my own business. And now I get to provide for my family. And now not only do I get to provide for my family, but I get to stay home with my children at the same time.
mm,
So you can speak all you want, but at the end of the day, this is what makes me happy. And this is what makes sense for my family. So as soon as you start realizing that you need to be in control of your power, and that if you are looking to change physically, you are going to change your entire characteristic. And by doing so, people around you are not going to understand you anymore. So you're going to have to teach them how to handle the new you.
hmm,
And you're going to have to stand your ground to show them that these are my new habits. This is how I am now. And this is what I'm going to accept now. If you don't like it, then maybe it's time we, move on with our paths. I appreciate you. I love you for all that you've done for me, but it's time for me to grow.
hmm. Yeah, I love what you said. Yeah, I know when I was growing up, I always like I talk a lot and I talk fast. And so a lot of people,
Mhm.
oh, Carly, you got to slow down. You got to slow down. You got to slow down. So it's funny. I just did this little thing. I had another person tell me, you got to slow down, Carla. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to go to my Facebook group. Oh, no, I did my Facebook page and it was just like this little test. I'm like, okay, like I'm getting feedback that I may be too fast. And it was legit. Like I was legitimately like, maybe I am talking too fast. Maybe I need to slow it down. So I just asked them, do I talk too fast? They're like, no, like we love. So I seriously got like, I don't know how many comments, like probably like 100 or something of everybody like, no, just be yourself. We like the way you talk, blah, blah, blah. Right. Like, it's great. We can totally like follow you. And so it's kind of funny. Like, again, like just being yourself. I mean, there's a time where you have to slow down. Like I do tend to get rambling and I have to be careful, but for the most part, like you just got to kind of own who you are. And I think when you get to that point too, and I had to do that in my life, especially as an entrepreneur, because people are always kind
Mhm.
of, okay, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? It's like, you just have to follow your path and you have to just say, no, this is who I am. And sometimes we might come across as we're maybe too much for some people or we're not enough for somebody else. But again, like no matter what your path is in your life, like you have to follow that path and not worry about what everybody else thinks. So I love everything that you said. I think that's really powerful for anybody, but I think particularly for women. Because we
Mhm.
get this idea that, oh, we got to fit into that little box, we got to fit into that little
Yep.
mold. And I'm like, no, we don't
Yep.
have to.
Yeah, you don't have to. What's happened is you've conditioned yourself to.
Hmm.
And like anything, when you condition yourself so much to be this type of person, it's going to be really hard. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it was not difficult to change my characteristics, to change my perspective, to change who I am and the way I live nowadays. It was very hard. I had to fight a lot of battles along the way. But if
Hmm.
I didn't fight through the battles, I would not be able to be on this end. I would have ended up stopping and going right back to what I was used to, right back to what they call your comfort zone. And, they call it your comfort zone for a reason, because our bodies are naturally protective of us. They try and keep us safe. So if we allow our bodies to live a certain way for so long, it now knows that this is safety,
Hmm.
right? Fight or flight. This is safety. So let's stay here in our comfort zone, in our safety net. When you change anything about you, a new home, a new job, a new workout routine, anything. I mean, it could be as little as changing your nutrition. your body is in fight mode. Like, whoa, what is going on? Right? So if our body does that, our mind does that, our entire being does that. And that's what they call your fight. You got to fight through that, push past it so our body can learn a new comfort zone, a new safety net. But if you never step outside that box, if you never find your fight, if you never push through, then you can never know that new safety, that new normal that you're really, really dying inside to have.
Yeah. Do you think that's what's made you successful, Alex? Or what do you think's, would that be the key, is just like kind of owning your path and being able to just say, like, I don't have to fit in a mold? Or is there other things? Is it your drive? Like, what would you say? Is there a few things maybe that have made you successful?
Oh my gosh. First, you know what's so funny is that I don't see myself as successful. I see myself as living for me and going after different goals. And the thing with success, let's talk about success for a minute. The thing
Yeah.
about success is that the definition is so vague. It's different for everybody. So if we sit here and say where I am at is successful, that's great. But then it limits, people's perspective, and it limits me for my perspective as well, because, my success is basically equals happiness. If I am happy, I am successful. And that's it. You don't need an amount of money. You don't need a house. You don't need a car. You need what makes you wake up in the morning excited and happy. And that's successful. So I think what has really allowed me to, one, define my own success, which is being happy, which in turn leads me to, do calls and motivate people and transform lives, like you talked about at the beginning of the call, is because I'm just leading with my passion, leading with my heart, letting it all just, leaving it all out there. I don't hold anything back. I don't hold any part of me back. I am a complete open book. And I really think that when I truly allowed myself to step into who I have always known I was, but was so afraid of being, that's when success really came to me in terms of, growing my community, being able to have this mission of helping people transform their bodies and their lives, and to be part of communities, which we're part of, like in our mastermind, and to grow as a person. I was able to become successful with it, with everything.
Yeah. And what made you so vulnerable? Like, why do you think that you're so vulnerable? Because you're very vulnerable. And I think that's why, and I'm learning to be more vulnerable. And it's been sort of this journey that I've been on, because I was always very closed, like, don't share anything, don't, just keep it all. But now I'm so vulnerable that I'm actually getting people like, Carla, you're sharing so much. Like, aren't you going to hold anything back? And I'm like, well, not really. Like, I mean, you don't say every single thing maybe, but like, no, like, I feel like I can help people more when I'm vulnerable. And I think that's why you're helping so many people, because you are vulnerable. You're sharing your journey and you're willing to listen and you're willing to like get it all out there. So what made you that
Yeah.
way, do you think?
Time, growth, understanding, and perspective. That's really it. You need to be patient with yourself. And then you need to acknowledge everything that has been in your life. So as I started to acknowledge everything that I've been through, and like we talked about earlier, I started to redefine my positive and negatives. And I can sit here and be like, oh, those girls bullied me. And all my 8th grade year, I didn't have friends and I ate lunch in the restroom. And like, oh, I was that girl. Like it was like a Lifetime movie, you know? But people look at me, they're like, no, you had friends. I'm like, I didn't. Like I didn't. I didn't have anybody I could count on. I didn't have anybody I could call during that time. And so I think just redefining all of my life's kind of objections that would have stopped me from moving forward, or, defeated me or kept me from seeing any greatness within me, and defining them as blessings, as, a gift to be able to relate to people better, as a gift to have understanding with people, as a gift that I needed to go through this because, for me, I was able to handle it. And not only am I able to handle it, but now I can teach others how to handle that as well. And to look at everything in their life and see it for a gift. And the reason they went through it is so that they can get to exactly where they are right now today.
Mm.
So, I mean, being vulnerable is, again, it's a choice and it's scary.
It is
It's so
scary.
scary because we go, you're going to have judgment. You're going to have people criticize you. You're going to have people, say really, really mean things about you. But they don't know the whole story. They don't know everything on top of that situation that I'm talking about, that vulnerability that I'm speaking on, until they get to know me.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, like, you took a couple conversations and you're like, wow, every time I talk to you, it's something else with you. And because allowing yourself to be vulnerable again allows you to own your power. You are now owning what people will try to use against you. And then when you speak on it, not only are you taking their power away from trying to use it against you, but now you get to utilize that power to help others who may not have had the opportunity to have somebody help them or mentor them or show them a different way.
Mm.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's great. I love everything you're saying, Alex. Now, if like what would you say to someone who's maybe they're really struggling right now? Maybe they're really overweight. Or maybe they are, going through some kind of trauma in their life. They're just really struggling and they're kind of like listening to you talk and they're like, "Oh, like I kind of want to be like that. Like how do I what would be their first step? What would you say to someone who's just they're really stuck? They're just like, I don't even know what to do right now. I want to lose weight or I want to get out of this bad situation." I mean, I know that's kind of broad, but like is there something particular that you'd be like, "You know what? This is where I would start."
Yeah, that's very broad because every situation is going to be different. I mean, honestly, having a mentor really helps, but it doesn't also. So, really, the transformation has to be done within. And one of the things, let's just say, that you don't have anybody that you can turn to or anybody that understands you, which I didn't. I'm the first, entrepreneur in my family. They did not understand what I was trying to do. Um, and they were against me and they didn't believe in me. I mean, nobody would watch my kids while I worked because they were like, this isn't going to go anywhere. I asked my grandma for an investment in my business and she's like, that's not going to go anywhere. So no, you have all of these things that can be very defeating, things that are in your way that are weighing you down. Right. Um, the thing is, stop looking too far ahead first.
Mm.
Right. The second is acknowledging, why are you in this situation? Why are these things happening to you? What have I done that has led me to this moment? Right? Acknowledging all your actions, all your decisions, everything that has led you to this moment. So for instance, my peak, when I was at my heaviest, I had to stop and realize the way I was eating led me to this body. I can't be eating a whole Little Caesars pizza and drinking a 2-liter bottle on my own every other day and think that I'm going to feel amazing and that I'm going to have this body that, is Pinterest worthy. Right? I had to be real. And one of the hardest things is to accept your failures. Accept that you created this situation that you're in right now. Now, this is not for everybody, right? This goes just for those that, are in situations where they're overweight, because like if you're being abused, you don't have control of that situation. So this is not for the broad question. This is for, a select few that are dealing with a moment in time where they want to transition out of a space, out of a specific style of life that they're living right now and have control over. So with that, you need to acknowledge what you failed at, what didn't work, so that you can realize what you need to do so that it will work. And this again comes back to the light bulb, right? How many times did he need to create a light bulb for it to actually turn on? 1,000. 1,000. And we're sitting here thinking that I can try this one diet and it's going to work.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it will work. It will work for a moment, right? So one, acknowledge where you are. Be completely real with yourself. Own your failures, own your lessons, and then turn them around and create a plan in which you know is going to work, even if it is hard to execute. And throughout the process of execution, be patient. Be patient with yourself. I have this thing that I tell my clients, for my fitness program. At the end of all my workout videos, I end with take it one day, one meal, and one workout at a time.
Mm.
So when you wake up in the morning, it's not about how you're going to end your day. It's about what am I going to do in the next 15 minutes?
Mm. Yeah.
What am I going to do in the next hour? Right? And you look at every day in the moments instead of by the day.
Yeah, I love that you said that, the looking ahead. I'll tend to do that. I'll be like, okay, I'm not even thinking about today. I'm thinking about tomorrow. I'm thinking about next week, and it's like, yeah, but you're missing so much right now. Or like, no wonder you're struggling with things because you're not dealing in the moment. And so I think that's key. If that's the only thing you guys get out of this whole thing, which I'm sure you'll get a lot more, but just to be living in the moment, taking it one step at a time and not getting like thinking that, oh, we have to be there now, or just looking so far ahead. I think we miss out a lot of things in life when we're doing that anyways, like just the moment with our kids, the moment with our husbands, the moment with, whoever our loved ones, just to be like really present. And that's something that I'm getting better at, Alex, but it's not perfect. I tend to always look too far ahead.
And that's okay. As long as, every day you wake up and you try to improve what needs to be fixed.
Mm-hmm.
That is a victory. And that's what we need to start to celebrate. We need to start celebrating those victories, because when we celebrate victories, we ignite an excitement within our body. And when we ignite the excitement within our body, that's what makes us want to do it more, right? But if we look at like, oh, but I'm not doing this, or I could be better at this, we're now making a negative reaction within our body. And eventually we're going to die out with that habit because we don't want to do it, because we have this negative correlation with it.
Yeah.
So find every small victory and celebrate it. And I mean, like, woo, today I ate some broccoli.
Yeah.
And I've never had broccoli, right? All your meals could have been like fast food, but you had broccoli today.
Yeah.
That's what you focus on. You focus on the victory. And every victory that you start to celebrate, you're going to celebrate more and more, because you're going to feel the excitement within you. And I'm sure you probably felt that just by my voice changing.
Yeah.
Right? When you change the reaction in which you have to what you're doing, that's what propels you forward to doing it more.
Yeah. Love that. Well, Alex, where do people go to connect with you? If somebody's like, okay, I love what she's saying, and I know everyone will think that anyways, but if you're like, okay, I just want to hear more, I want to connect with Alex, what has she got going on? Where do people go to find you?
So I hang out mostly on Instagram at Alex Garzaro. So AlexGarzaro. That is like my place to be. I'm there all day, every day. I do hang out on Facebook every now and then. But for the most part, I am on Instagram. And my Instagram, actually, in my bio, will link you to anything that you're looking for to work with me.
Good. Well, thank you so much, Alex. I've really enjoyed having you on here. And again, you've been vulnerable, you've shared, and you just have so much insight. Like the things that you say, everything that comes out of your mouth, and it's almost like you have a fresh way of saying it too, because some of these things I've heard, but the way you say it, it just seems like it really brings it to life. So I really appreciate that. So thanks again so much for being on here, Alex.
Thank you for having me.
This episode is brought to you by my company, Power Fitness Online. We are a tight-knit fitness community, and we guide you every step of the way to get fit and stay fit through our live workouts, nutrition coaching, and incredible support team. Go to powerfitnessedson.com to learn more. Thank you for tuning into the podcast today. If you enjoyed it, please leave a positive review on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Music, or wherever you're listening. And if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, I would love to see your comments. I would love to know what you think about this episode and interact with you. I love hearing from you. Once again, I'm Carla Rand, and this is The Carla Rand Show, and I can't wait to see you next week for our next episode.